My name is Rachel Adams, and I'm 33 years old. 5 years ago, when I finally landed my dream job as a senior tech executive, I started sending my parents $5,000 every single month. It made me so proud, thinking I was finally able to give back after everything they'd sacrificed for me. But then came that text message from my brother Ethan. 6 words that shattered everything I thought I knew. The golden goose just paid again. At first, I thought it was some weird inside joke, but I had no idea how deep their betrayal actually ran. Before I share everything, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. And if you've ever sacrificed or gone above and beyond for family, hit that like button and subscribe. Because trust me, what I'm about to tell you will make you question everything about family loyalty. Growing up, my family seemed perfectly ordinary from the outside. My dad, Frank Adams, worked as an operations manager at a small manufacturing plant in Ohio. My mom, Linda, worked part-time at the public library. We lived in a modest 3-bedroom home on Maple Street. Dad would grill burgers on Sundays, Mom would tend her little rose garden, and my brother Ethan and I would ride bikes around the neighborhood. But under the surface, there were always financial struggles. I remember hearing hushed arguments late at night. My mom poring over grocery receipts, trying to stretch every dollar. My dad would snap if we asked for new school clothes or field trips. He always had the same response. Money doesn't grow on trees, kids. But when I turned 14, everything changed overnight. Dad lost his job when the company downsized. The layoff devastated him. He spent months sitting around the house, scanning job listings in his bathrobe while Mom tried to pick up extra hours at the library and working late nights at a local department store. Often, I'd come home from school to find Ethan heating up frozen dinners by himself. By 15, I realized if I didn't step up, we might not make it. I got my work permit and took a job at the local ice cream shop after school and on weekends. I stood on my feet for hours, reeking of sugar and cream by the end of every shift. Every paycheck went directly to my mom. She would always hug me tight and say, "You're such a blessing, Rachel. You're saving this family." Meanwhile, Ethan, 4 years younger than me, was shielded from all of it. He played video games, hung out with friends, and lived like nothing was wrong. Whenever he asked why I was always working, my mom would smile and say, "Your sister's just saving for college, honey. Don't worry." That became the family story. Rachel works because she wants to. Rachel doesn't mind missing school dances or sleepovers. Rachel's strong enough to handle it. But no one ever asked me how much weight I was carrying. By the time I entered high school, I was balancing schoolwork and multiple part-time jobs. I knew that education was my only way out of financial instability. Between long nights waitressing at the diner and working shifts at the ice cream shop, I somehow maintained a perfect GPA. I joined every extracurricular club that might make my college application stronger. My social life was basically non-existent. Dating? Not even a consideration. While my classmates went to homecoming dances and spring break trips, I was wiping down tables and studying under dim fluorescent lights at 1 a.m. There were nights I cried silently, overwhelmed and exhausted. But I never let anyone see. I couldn't afford to break down. Someone had to keep things together. Finally, my hard work paid off. I earned a partial scholarship to Northwestern University. But it still wasn't enough. Even with financial aid, I had to take out loans and continue working through college just to make ends meet. I waitressed 30 hours a week while carrying a full course load in computer science. Some days I lived entirely off caffeine and sheer determination. My dad eventually found a job again at a much smaller logistics company, but his new salary barely covered the basics. The financial pressure never truly went away. When I came home for school breaks, I noticed how tired my parents looked. The lines on my mom's face seemed deeper. My dad's hair had gone almost completely gray. "We're so proud of you, Rachel," my dad would say every time I shared my grades or achievements. "You're going to break the cycle for us." His words kept me going. I carried their hopes like a responsibility written into my DNA. 4 years later, I graduated summa cum laude with a dual degree in computer science and business analytics. It felt surreal when tech companies started recruiting me before I even walked across the stage at graduation. The day I accepted my offer from Brightcore Technologies in Chicago, I called my parents in tears. Mom, Dad, I did it. I got the job. I can finally help. They both cried on the phone. My mom could barely get words out. My dad kept repeating how proud he was. 3 years into my job, I was promoted to Director of Product Strategy. My salary doubled overnight. For the first time in my life, I had more money than I knew what to do with. The decision felt easy, automatic even. I wanted to give back to my parents who had struggled for so long. During one visit home, over dinner at our old kitchen table, I made the offer. I want to start sending you $5,000 every month to make things easier. At first, they resisted. You don't have to do that, sweetheart, my mom said, though I noticed she didn't refuse outright. I want to, I insisted. You've done so much for me. And so, the arrangement began. At first, it felt amazing to help them. Every month, I saw the money leave my account automatically and felt this profound peace knowing my parents were finally secure. Mom would call to tell me about bills they were able to pay off. Dad would say things like, "You're allowing us to breathe again, honey." But about 2 years into the arrangement, the tone started to shift. During a Thanksgiving trip back home, I noticed a brand new BMW parked in the driveway where my mom's aging Toyota used to sit. I stared at it as I got out of my car. "Whose car is this?" I asked. "Oh, that's mine," Mom said casually. We figured it was finally time to get something reliable. Inside, more changes caught my eye. The living room was redecorated with expensive-looking furniture. The kitchen had gleaming marble countertops and high-end appliances. My dad wore a designer watch I didn't recognize. My mom had a diamond necklace she definitely hadn't owned before. When I asked about the renovations, my parents always had quick explanations. The kitchen remodel was necessary because of a pipe leak. The watch was a gift from a client. The necklace? Oh, it was on a huge sale for our anniversary. Their answers sounded rehearsed, and when I gently asked how they could afford the new car, Mom just waved it off. 0% financing, honey. Don't worry. We're being careful. Later that evening, my brother Ethan strolled in late for Thanksgiving dinner. At 25, he still lived at home. I'd recently learned he had quit his job at a local electronics store. "I'm taking time to explore my options," he said when I asked about his work. Even though he had no job, Ethan was wearing a new Rolex and carrying the newest iPhone. While we washed dishes together after dinner, I couldn't help but ask, "Ethan, how are you affording all this without a job?" He shrugged casually. "Mom and Dad help me out. They understand I need time to figure out my path." Something about his answer unsettled me, but I pushed the feeling aside. After all, my parents deserved some comfort after everything they'd been through. Right? And if they wanted to help Ethan a little, that was their choice. But then the requests started coming. One evening, 3 days before my scheduled transfer, my mom called. "Rachel, sweetie, I hate to ask, but is there any way you could send this month's money a little early? We've got a few bills piling up and a payment due soon." "Of course," I said without hesitation. "Is everything okay?" "Oh yes, just a little bad timing with due dates. Nothing serious." But it didn't stop. Almost every month afterward, the same phone calls would come. "Could you send it a few days early?" "Just this one time." "We're running a little short." Anytime I mentioned having my own unexpected expenses, like when I needed to replace my work laptop, their voices would tighten. "But you're still sending the full amount this month, right?" Dad would ask, his tone anxious. I began to feel like my financial well-being never entered the conversation. During another visit home, I arrived earlier than expected and overheard them arguing in the kitchen. "She'll be here any minute," my mom hissed. "Put those pamphlets away." I cleared my throat and walked in. They both jumped. I caught a glimpse of colorful brochures before my dad shoved them into a drawer. "What was that?" I asked casually. "Just some junk mail." Dad waved it off. "How was your drive?" But later that night, when they thought I was asleep, I overheard my mother whispering, "We can't tell her about the Aruba trip yet. Not until after we finalized the payment on the condo. The condo? A trip to Aruba? The numbers weren't adding up. Every time I tried to gently ask more questions about their finances, they dodged or made me feel like I was intruding. Sweetheart, you worry too much. We're fine, thanks to you. That summer, they hosted a lavish backyard party for Ethan's 26th birthday, complete with a live band, full catering, and custom decorations. When I commented on how extravagant it all seemed, Mom laughed lightly. We've just gotten better at budgeting, sweetheart, thanks to your help. A few months later, the moment that shattered everything arrived, completely by accident. It was an ordinary Tuesday afternoon. I was working from home, preparing for an important client presentation when my phone buzzed. It was a text message from Ethan. The Golden Goose just paid again. We should hit the casino before Mom and Dad blow it on their next project. My stomach dropped. At first, I thought maybe he sent it by mistake. But the words burned into my brain. Golden Goose. Me. The person funding their lifestyle. Before I could even respond, 3 dots appeared. Ethan was typing frantically. Then, "Oh my God, Rachel, that wasn't meant for you." My hands trembled. "I want you to explain what that meant." "In writing," I texted back. A few seconds later, "Can I call you?" Number text me exactly what's going on. Minutes ticked by like hours. My heart raced. My vision blurred. Finally, my phone pinged again. "Look, we have a family chat sometimes. It's mostly dumb jokes. Nothing serious." My throat tightened. "Show me the chat. Right now, all of it." "Rachel, please, it's nothing." I didn't blink. "Either you send me screenshots now, or I will call Mom and Dad this second. And after that, you'll never see another penny from me again." 20 agonizing minutes later, my inbox dinged. He had emailed me dozens of screenshots. I opened the first image with shaking hands. The chat was titled, "Family Financial Planning." The participants? My parents and Ethan. As I scrolled through the messages, tears welled in my eyes. Dad. Transfer came through. Rachel's contribution received. Mom. Thank goodness. She still hasn't caught on. Ethan. She's too busy working 60-hour weeks to even check her bank statements. Golden Goose keeps laying eggs. Dad. As long as she's exhausted, she won't ask questions. Mom. That's why we never invite her to Aruba or the lake house. Safer that way. Ethan. Should I ask her for extra for the new car? Dad. Wait until bonus season. We'll guilt her about future grandkids next time. My vision blurred as I kept scrolling. It got worse. Mom. The Golden Goose paid early this month. Let's finish the down payment on the condo. Dad. Don't mention the condo when she visits next month. Ethan. LOL. She never asks. She just wires the money like clockwork. I was frozen, reading betrayal after betrayal. They weren't using the money for bills, like they always claimed. They were living an entirely separate life with my money. Lake houses, luxury vacations, designer clothes, golf memberships, lavish birthday parties. And I wasn't even invited to most of it. The worst part? They found it funny. I kept scrolling. The most recent messages were only days old. Dad. Vacation in Europe next month is fully booked. Mom. Don't tell Rachel. She'll ask too many questions. Ethan. Better not invite her at all. Dad. Exactly. Less chance she finds out where the money really goes. I sat frozen on my couch, tears pouring silently down my cheeks. 5 years, 60 months, $300,000. All while they laughed behind my back and excluded me from a life I had unknowingly funded. My entire sense of family love, loyalty, and trust shattered in one night. For hours, I sat frozen, staring at the endless screenshots of betrayal. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't even cry anymore. I wanted answers, but I also knew confronting them impulsively wouldn't help. I needed to be prepared. The next morning, I called my best friend, Sophie, the only person who truly knew everything about my family dynamics. I barely choked out a few words before breaking down again. Within an hour, Sophie was at my apartment, holding me as I sobbed. "Rachel, you need to confront them, but do it on your terms." She was right. That week, I reached out to a therapist, Dr. Michelle Carson, a specialist in family trauma. She helped me strategize for the confrontation, preparing me emotionally for every possible manipulation tactic. Don't expect them to suddenly become self-aware. Dr. Carson warned gently. Expect deflection, guilt, anger, and denial. With Sophie's support and Dr. Carson's coaching, I finally texted the family group chat. "I'll be coming to the house on Saturday at 1 p.m. to talk. All of you need to be there." The responses flooded in instantly. "Of course, honey. We're so glad you're finally ready to talk. This is just a big misunderstanding." I didn't respond. Saturday arrived. Sophie drove me to my parents' house and waited outside, phone in hand, ready to intervene if needed. As I approached the front door, my mother flung it open with a forced smile. "Rachel, sweetheart," she greeted, reaching out for a hug. I stepped back slightly, maintaining my distance. "Let's talk." Inside, my dad stood by the fireplace, wearing the same carefully controlled expression of authority I'd grown up with. Ethan sat slumped on the couch, avoiding my eyes. "We're so glad you came, honey," my dad started. "This entire thing has gotten so out of hand." "Stop," I cut him off. "I've seen the group chat. I've seen the photos. I've seen the spreadsheet." Their faces froze. I know about the condo, the vacations, the birthday parties I wasn't invited to, the luxury cars, all of it. The room fell silent. My mom's forced smile twitched. My dad's jaw clenched. Ethan stared at the floor. "Rachel," Dad finally spoke, "you're making this sound like we forced you to send us money." "You offered." I kept my voice steady, just like Dr. Carson had taught me. "I offered because you said you needed help. For bills, for essential expenses, not for European vacations and investment properties." My mom's eyes filled with well-practiced tears. "Is it so wrong for us to finally enjoy some comfort after everything we've sacrificed?" "The comfort isn't the issue," I replied. "The calculated deception is. You lied about needing medical tests that never existed. You fabricated home repairs while buying a lake house." "We only told little white lies." My dad shrugged dismissively. "Every family does." I pulled out my phone and read one of his exact text messages aloud. Golden Goose came through again. "Condo fund looking good." No one laughed. "Funny, right?" I said flatly. My mom tried again, switching tactics. "Rachel, after everything we did for you growing up, feeding you, clothing you, sacrificing our own comfort, is this how you repay us? By attacking your own parents?" I inhaled deeply, steadying my voice. "I started working at 15 to help this family survive. Every paycheck I earned went to you. I sacrificed my youth, my freedom, my happiness, and I've been paying you ever since. This isn't repayment, it's exploitation." My mother's tears fell harder. "We gave you life, Rachel. You owe us everything." That was the moment something inside me finally broke free. "I owe you nothing." Ethan finally looked up, his voice barely above a whisper. I'm sorry, Rachel. I should have said something sooner." "Quiet, Ethan," Dad snapped. "Don't let her turn you against your own family." I turned to my brother. "Did you know about the condo? The vacations? The allowance they've been giving you?" Ethan nodded shamefully. "They said you wouldn't even notice, that you made so much money. You didn't need it." I let out a bitter laugh. "So while I worked 70-hour weeks, skipped vacations, and stayed up at night worrying about everyone, you were pocketing $2,000 of my money every month?" He couldn't meet my eyes. I never wanted to, but I didn't stop it either. "At least that's honest," I said coldly. My dad's face flushed red. "You're being dramatic. We're your family. Families support each other. You can't just cut us off." "Watch me." The room went completely silent. "The financial arrangement is over, permanently. You've made your choices. Now you can live with them." My mother sobbed louder. "You're destroying this family." "You destroyed it the moment you turned me into your personal ATM," I said quietly. "From now on, you'll hear from me in writing, not in person." I stood up and walked to the door. Ethan followed me out to the porch. "Rachel, please, I really am sorry. I want to make things right." I studied him carefully. "Then start by growing up. Get a job. Stop living off other people's work. And maybe one day we can rebuild something. But only if you earn it." He nodded slowly. "I will, I promise." I wasn't sure if I believed him. But as I walked back to Sophie's car waiting across the street, I felt lighter than I had in years. For the first time, I had stood up for myself. For the first time, I had taken my life back. The next morning, I permanently canceled the recurring $5,000 transfer. That simple click felt monumental, like snapping the final chain that had kept me bound for years. But even after cutting off the money, the fallout continued. The calls, the texts, the voicemails. "How could you do this to your family? We sacrificed everything for you. You're being selfish and ungrateful." I didn't answer any of them. Dr. Carson had warned me. Expect pushback. You've disrupted a system they were deeply invested in, but hold your ground. The pressure escalated when my aunt, my mother's sister, called me directly. "Rachel, honey," Aunt Marlene said gently, "your parents are devastated. They say you cut them off without warning. Is that true?" I took a steady breath. "Ask them about the condo, the secret vacations, the financial exploitation, the lies." There was a long pause. "I didn't know any of that." "Well, now you do. And please, Yara, don't call me as their messenger again." With Dr. Carson's guidance, I also hired an attorney, Lisa Monroe, who helped me draft a formal cease and desist letter. It clearly outlined the full extent of the financial exploitation, the termination of all financial support, and boundaries for future communication. Lisa also advised, send it certified mail. Keep every record. If they violate boundaries, you'll have legal grounds to protect yourself. When the letter arrived, the backlash exploded. My parents bombarded me with emotional voicemails, oscillating between pleading, accusing, and manipulating. "We raised you. You owe us. You've become cold, heartless. How dare you do this to your own parents?" They even tried contacting my boss, my coworkers, anyone they thought could pressure me. I stayed silent. The hardest test came when Mom texted claiming Dad was hospitalized with heart problems. I almost caved, until I called the hospital directly. There was no patient under my father's name. Another lie. Another manipulation. I felt both heartbroken and vindicated. The only person who seemed to genuinely change was Ethan. He started texting me, not asking for money, but updating me on his new job at a small marketing firm. I'm finally paying my own rent now. It's hard, but it feels good to be independent. For the first time, he seemed willing to take responsibility. Professionally, I flourished. Without the constant financial drain and emotional burden, my focus sharpened. 6 months after cutting ties, I was promoted to Vice President of Product Development. During my review, my boss smiled. "Whatever personal challenges you went through earlier this year, you've come back stronger, more focused than ever." She had no idea how true that was. It wasn't just about money. I had reclaimed my freedom, my identity. The first holiday season was hard. Thanksgiving, Christmas. I spent them without my family for the first time in my life. Dr. Carson reassured me. "You're grieving, Rachel. Grieving the family you thought you had." So I created new traditions. Sophie, her fiancé, a few close friends from work. We gathered for a chosen family Thanksgiving. For the first time in years, I felt genuine warmth around the dinner table. Not obligation, not guilt. In the months that followed, I also met someone. Daniel, a consultant I met through a conference. He was kind, respectful, and patient, and most importantly, completely supportive of my healing journey. As our relationship deepened, I found myself doing something I never thought I could do again. Trust. "You seem lighter than when we first met," Daniel once said. "Like you've let go of something heavy." "I have." I smiled. I finally stopped trying to earn love that should have been unconditional. 1 year after discovering the truth, I sat in Dr. Carson's office for what would be our final regular session. "How do you feel today, Rachel?" she asked. I thought carefully. Stronger. Not the same, but stronger in all the places I used to be broken. She smiled warmly. "That's healing, Rachel. You've transformed your pain into growth." And I had. I even launched a small foundation, the Adams Resilience Fund, providing scholarships to students from financially unstable families who work while studying, just like I did. Helping others, by choice, not obligation, felt empowering. My parents remain in my life today, but on my terms. Strict boundaries, limited contact, no financial discussions ever. If they cross a boundary, the conversation ends immediately. It's not ideal. But I've accepted they're incapable of true accountability. Ethan, however, continues to make progress. He's now fully self-sufficient and recently sent me a small repayment toward the money he had received. "It's not much," he said, but I wanted to start making amends. It wasn't about the money. It was the gesture. Proof that some cycles can be broken. Looking back, I no longer feel shame. I feel proud. I broke free. I reclaimed my life. And I've learned one of the most powerful lessons of all. Family doesn't entitle anyone to exploit your kindness. Love isn't supposed to come with a price tag. And I am enough, even when I say no. 1 year after discovering the truth, I found myself sitting on the balcony of my Chicago apartment, watching the city lights shimmer beneath the night sky. It felt surreal. How far I had come since that devastating Tuesday when Ethan's text arrived. Back then, I was shattered. Now I was whole. Not because the pain was gone, but because I had learned to carry it differently. "You've grown stronger in the broken places," Dr. Carson once said. "That's not just recovery, that's transformation." And she was right. The Adams Resilience Fund had awarded its first round of scholarships. At the small award ceremony, I met 5 incredible young women who, just like me years ago, were balancing college classes with part-time jobs to support their families. I saw so much of my younger self in them. After the ceremony, one of the recipients approached me. "Thank you, Ms. Adams," she said softly. "I didn't think anyone saw people like me." I smiled, tears welling in my eyes. "I see you. And you are stronger than you know." Helping them, by choice, from a place of empowerment, was deeply healing. It was no longer about being used. It was about giving because I wanted to, not because I was manipulated. My personal life had also blossomed. Daniel and I had grown closer over the past year, slowly building something steady, honest, and safe. We recently moved in together into a cozy 2-bedroom apartment not far from the lakefront. One evening, as we unpacked boxes, Daniel paused and looked at me thoughtfully. "Do you realize how far you've come?" he asked. "A year ago, you were barely holding it together." I smiled softly. "I know, and I never thought I'd feel safe again, but I do now. With you." "You're safe now, Rachel," he said. "And you always deserve to be." As for my parents, they remain distant shadows in my life. We have minimal contact, limited to the rare, shallow phone call. There are still moments when guilt tries to creep in. But then I remind myself, setting boundaries isn't cruelty. It's self-preservation. It's choosing peace over obligation. Ethan, on the other hand, continues to hold true to his word. He's fully independent, steadily repaying small amounts of what he once took, and slowly earning back a place in my life. This time as a brother. not as an accomplice. I'm cautiously optimistic. I still have a long way to go, Ethan once admitted. But I want to be better, like you. Sometimes I still grieve the family I thought I had. But I've also made peace with reality. What I lost was an illusion. What I gained was my freedom. Freedom from financial abuse. Freedom from emotional manipulation. Freedom from being treated like a walking bank account. I am no longer the golden goose. I am Rachel Adams, a woman who took her life back, one painful step at a time. If you've ever had to set painful boundaries with family, know this. You are not selfish. You are not cruel. You are allowed to say no. And you are not alone. If my story resonated with you, or if you've ever faced difficult family boundaries like this, please don't hesitate to share your own experiences in the comments below. I read every single one, and trust me, you are not alone. If you found this video helpful or healing, please hit that like button and consider subscribing to Hidden Family Revenge Stories. Here on this channel, we share real-life family dramas, betrayals, and powerful stories of healing. Because sometimes, the deepest wounds come from the ones closest to us. By subscribing, you're not just following a channel, you're joining a community where your story matters. Thank you for watching.